Good video, good. Everyone's good on the sound. Rolling. Okay, and let me get my Skype up and running. Good morning, everyone. This is Simon. Sorry, Ian. I assume you're in the room, but if not, there you go. Oop, sorry. Hold on a second. Invite, copy link, paste. There you go. Okay, and let's get started. This is Simon with toughtrader.com. Good morning to everyone. I am sorry I'm running a couple minutes late. We are gapping up, right? Interesting. NQ's tacked on, let's see, where we at? Plus 30 this morning, 29 and a half points. ES is tacking on about 10, 11 points this morning. Whoa, that does not look right. Let me fix this real quick. There we go. 10.25 for the morning. So strong gap up. So when I look at that, the first thing I think is, wow, well, to new all-time highs. I want to put myself in a mind frame that the move may have been stolen overnight. I don't know that we'll tack on another 100 points on NQ or another 1% day. I don't know that we won't, right? I want to put myself in a neutral time frame in terms of getting a trade set up. Remember, number one, that I'm a day trader. The day trading part of it requires that I can get good position, right? Or I can find other traders have gotten pushed out of the market at a place that was disadvantageous to them and advantageous to me, right? And I had a good opportunity to get a good trade location, right? So before I start on anything, I actually have a potential short setup against the high of the day, and that entry would come at 65.34, right? Now, realize that's against the high of the day, 65.39 and a quarter, right? It's aggressive to start the day. And so you have about 20 minutes to consider whether you'd want to take that trade or not. I'm probably taking that trade on a reduced size. Realistically, against the high of the day, if I get swept, I'll just take the next trade that comes right along in process, right? Before I get started, past performance is not indicative of future results, right? This is for educational purposes only. I'm sharing my trade plan with you in hopes it'll make you a better trader. Don't follow me blindly. Take the opportunity to learn from me, take what you like, leave the rest, right? You can lose a lot of money trading futures. So make sure that you have a good risk management plan and that you are clear on what your process is for entry, exit, right? Any trader, even great traders, go through periods of run-ups and drawdowns. So this is important. There's lots of reasons for that. The reason can be that the market has changed. That trader can just be in a bad place, right? Maybe they're stressed, burnt out, uh, haven't taken a break, whatever it can be. There's lots of reasons why good traders go on drawdowns. Good traders have control methods for when that occurs, all right, so they don't blow themselves up. Bad traders just keep trading no matter what, right? And they don't sit, reflect, take time to figure out what's going on. Good traders go, hey, I'm drawing down, I'm going to pause. If you're losing money, stop trading, right? Unless you have some kind of methodology that says you can have a 20 or 30% win rate and your RR is so huge, don't keep pounding yourself into the ground. It's all I can stress. So number one, the short side's aggressive, right? Let's go look at the pictures real quick. I've already put out the charts for the members. Obviously, Friday was straight up. The danger in shorting, I want to stress this, is that you can tell that a lot of people, there's either a large amount of cash shorts or a lot of people tried to press this short at the end of the day and really got ripped, and they got ripped again overnight, right? The short side in this particular mode of the market is very high. The attraction or the candy in most traders' minds that want to short this is that, well, I'll catch the top. So and I'll make a huge amount of money. That 65.34 area is simply a scalping location. It's the same setup as we have from the other night. It's simply my last strongest buyer was located at 65.34, and that stop requires approximately a 6-point stop or $120 a contract to find out if he comes back in and sells against that high. That's what I'm betting on. That's it. There's nothing more magical about it. There's nothing amazing about that particular location. Let's go look at what the overnight looks like really quickly from multiple perspectives. Hold on a second here. Connect. And I need to do one thing. So I have my DOMs and demo, and I do not want to make the mistake of just one sec. I apologize. Give me just 1 second, guys. I'll be right there. Okay. One more thing. I need to get my S5 DOMs up and running for backup. And while we do that, let me pull up the time. Let's do this. We'll go over here. And where is the did not start? Ah, there it is. Okay. Guys, I apologize. Give me just 1 second. I'm having trouble getting one of my DOMs, trading DOMs, up and running. I need just 1 second to fix it. Okay, 1 second. Okay, I apologize for the delay. We are in business. There we go. Okay, so first on ES, and then we'll go to NQ. So number one thing, guys, to go through on your list. This is our neighborhood, right? We are not bearish until we get underneath 2673.50 from a larger picture stance, right? The profile, let me erase this real quick. Okay, things that you want in your note. The profile needs to be repaired right through here, which means, okay, here's your value area low. You've got to get below 2673.75 to consider a downside rotation, right? The profile needs to be repaired here, and the profile needs to be repaired right in this little area right there. Those are the two major areas that jump out to me, right? So two things. We're trading at 26.92. If we get down to 26.72, that'll be a 20-point rotation. A little bit past 20 points, this will be repaired. I most likely from this point on, right, once I get down here or in this neighborhood, I am looking from 22.69 to from 26.69 to 26.66 and 3/4 for a reversal. That does not mean we'll get it right on the nose, but it means I'm going to continue. I'm going to start. It's a 20-point stretch, right? I'm going to start to look for counter rotations, pushes back up, getting back above my last seller. Very, very important, right? So that means, right, I have one or two choices. We know where the zones are in there as we're pushing down. Wow, that's black. Let's see if we can fix that. Pushing down, pushing down, pushing down. You got to get above your last seller, right? And then I'm looking for a push back in for a backside test in here for a continuation back up. I want you to know that if we get a true trend day down, right, this setup where we get above the last seller fails and we push through. That is what your stop is for, right? I want to be really clear about that. Nothing works all the time, right? But the majority of the time, let's say it comes down, I get one stop through here and I get set up again. We come down, we come down, we come down. I get back above my last seller. I will be looking for the retrace against my last seller once I get above them to push up. If I get 2 full stops in the day, I'll stop trading. That's all there is to it. If you did this all the time, you'd have a very, very difficult time losing money trading. And I'm not bearish. I'm just giving the alternative scenario, right? Because the natural scenario is we're going to gap and go all day long. And my guess is I end up without much to do right out of the gate, right? If it goes straight up outside of taking this tag up at wherever I mentioned earlier, I'll write it back down just a second. The 65.39 or wherever I had it on NQ, I'll relist it right before the open. If we gap and we just keep running, odds are they're not going to give me a trade location, and I don't have a trade. I have nothing to trade against, right? We've been trending up all night long, right? So there's just simply nothing for me to do. My guess would be the first time we fill the gap right here. This is Dalton's gap fill up here. It's also important to note if we don't get below 26.83, in other words, we hold the first half hour. The stats say if we do not trade back into value, the blue area is the value area. If we don't trade back in the first half hour, stats say we push out for the day, right? That usually ends up looking just like Friday, right? We opened up. Here's the value area. Hold on a second here. Here's the value area. Let's erase this again. I am not clicking, but I will in just a second. Here's the value area. We fail to trade within the value area. We hold, right? If we push this out, these are all half-hour bars, right? Notice we fail to close in within the first half hour. We push out, a little bit of a retrace, and we trend up. That is picture perfect for what it looks like when we don't trade into the value area. This area, right, already tested this area. Therefore, this was weaker, and you can get the result of pushing out. You can see at this value area high and this point of control, we did find some rejection, but this was the important piece of information. This had already been tested, therefore less important, right? Just like on this day over here. So this in relationship to this had already been tested here, making this less valuable, right? Therefore, it was easier to trade through. This date traded this in relationship to this day. This was weaker. It got a small rejection, but they were able to push out. So there's nothing above us, right? We do not even remotely begin to discuss a bearish conversation until we get below 26.84, and then we have to get underneath the value area and hold underneath in order to make any kind of substantial push to the downside. Obviously, you're always thinking, well, what will a top look like? Well, you'll know it. We'll open drive lower. It'll turn into a trend day down. It'll get ugly pretty quickly. It's a long odds bet that you're going to be able to look at a market open on one particular day and call a top. That trade in NQ will be a complete scalp. I'm hoping to make 5 points and pretty much scale and move the stop to break even. Okay, so I'm not bearish. I'm looking for long opportunities. I'm probably going to have to let intraday setups begin, which means, remember, in order for me to get along, right, I need the market to push down, push back up, and then come back and test against my last seller. It doesn't necessarily have to be a huge roll down. I just have to test against my last seller so I can set up my entry, my exit, my stop, and my counter rotation back to the upside. And same with the shorts. Given where we're at location-wise and strength-wise, I probably would rather find a long than a short. We're going into the holiday market, right? Think about it. No one's scared of the market. Watch it go straight down after I say that. No one's scared of the market. No one wants to pay capital gains taxes, right? So you don't need a lot of buyers when there's a seller strike, right? There's still a ton of cash out there, I've got to believe, right? And I don't see anything that's going to derail the market at all. I just don't. So when I see it, right, if all of a sudden we have, what will change that opinion? Open drive lower, expansion of range to the downside, inability to get above my last 5-minute and 15-minute bars, right? So I'm just going off the clockwork, the checklist of what would tell me something has changed, right? Lastly, it's Monday. What we may end up with is gap, the move being stolen overnight, right? So let me draw this out. And then I'm going to go cover NQ really quick. We trended up overnight, right? We open up and we may just get this, right? With the move having been taken overnight, in which case there'll be very little to do but a couple of scalps, and I'm just looking to get paid in that case. Most Mondays are balance days, they're not trend days. Obviously, we're in a little bit of a different market, so that may have changed. Volatility is expanding both directions, right? We're getting bigger ranges to the upside and bigger ranges to the downside. Remember your 30s, right, are going to be key rotation sizes, both long and short, and multiples of 30s in order to find key inflection points, right? Let the market stretch. It'll come to us, guys. You don't have to kill it on a Monday in order to make a lot of money, and there's nothing wrong with sitting out the first half hour and letting it come to you. Let's go look at NQ really quick. Okay, we had a big day. We had a somewhat of a P-shaped profile. We were trading above that. So the first thing I'm going to have in my notes, I am not any kind of uber bear unless I get below 64.47. It's a long way from where we are right now, 65.28, 75-point rotation down. In your notes, once this part of the profile gets repaired, that does not mean it has to stop, but I would certainly be looking for attempts at reversals back up at or below 64.35 neighborhood, right? There's the only problem with this is this profile is not well defined at all. You can see it's pretty much flat. It would be relatively easy to trade through here. The open gap is all the way down. Again, I don't expect it to get tested, but this is just in case, right? Because the natural thought process would be they're going to come and push up this morning, right? So we have to get past the volume point of control and the TPO point of control, right, in order to go down. We have a bunch of profile to repair because Friday it moved through so quickly. Prices need to be checked back up on. Does not mean that it has to do it today. And we are not bearish unless we get below and hold below 64.47 at this point. And it is the long odds bet that we're going to push all the way through this neighborhood. The only good thing about this is it's elongated and the buyers and sellers weren't concentrated, and it makes it a bit easier to push through. That being said, you certainly, and I'm just trying to temper people who are uber bearish, right? You certainly have to get below 64.68 to make any kind of significant push lower, right? You would assume these guys are going to defend first time in and try to defend their profits. That being said, we get underneath these guys, there's not much to defend in this neighborhood in terms of guys who are fully vested. You're going to leave a bunch of people trapped, and this is the next area where you really get defense. You got to structure that in with stretch, right? So and sentiment, which is very bullish right now, right? So what we'll do is we'll look at the open, right? First thing we're going to go and look is, hey, where's the advancers versus decliners? If we open up like a plus 1,200 advancers, right? So Friday, you can see in the first 5 minutes, we were at plus 2,000, right? So if we're under 1,500 out of the gate and we're gapping like this, I'm going to assume they're going to shake out inventory, which is long overnight. We've gone straight up. There's no place for inventory to be but long, right? But on trend days, those trend days can continue from the overnight position. It's not like we've pushed up and then balanced out. We haven't had any point where we've shaken out the longs overnight, so it wouldn't be unusual to see them shake out, right? So what are we going to wait for through the course of the day? 30 points down, getting above the last seller, right? And then outside of that, I'll use the algo to set up scalps through the course of the day. And I'm just going to take it calmly because there's no place of clear support or resistance above. And I do not think that the market's an automatic long or short this morning, right? Let them settle it out this morning, guys. We had good trades last week, given that we missed Friday's upside move, but we weren't short. We should be able to crank out 5 to 10 good trades through the course of the week, would be my guess. It'll probably start to get thinner towards the end of the week, right? And buyers are going to be in overall control, and there's not a lot of motivated sellers, right? So that being said, I will take shorts as they set up through the course of the week. And overnight, as I said, my first location, let me make sure I have this set up correctly, is 65.34 and a quarter. That's where I will be. 65.34. That's where I'm laying up. That's against the overnight high, right? Which will be my stop. It'll essentially be a 34 to 39. Let's just call it a 6-point stop out of the gate. And I'm pretty comfortable with that. If I get run over, I get run over. And if we open drive lower, I'll just stand aside, let them push it lower, and then look for locations on the charts. I haven't put in Globex high and low, but I will. Let me do that really quickly. NQ. $64.9750. Right under 64.90. Is that right? 64.9750. There's Globex high. Globex low, 65. 65.3950. Remember, as 65.39, let me get that. As a day trader, it doesn't matter whether it goes up or down. What you need is the rotations to get paid off of. If there's no rotation, no counter rotation, your opportunity becomes limited, right? So it's not all that exciting that we're driving straight up, right? 26.9350 on ES. And 66.8250. We opened pretty flat last night. There we go. So obviously the other marker is, do we get below and hold below Globex low, right? Let me put in tick. My suggestion would be you lay back, let your setups come to you, wait till we get good rotations down. Really, it's totally locked. Okay, let's see if I can get rid of it now. Really? There we go. Insert tick. And we open at positive 1200. Advancers are back at positive 2000 once again. So no hesitation or pause there whatsoever from the market. Again, I am sitting at 65.34, 65.33 to 65.34. Stop against Globex high. If and when it gets there, I will let y'all know. And other than that, I'm just in relaxed mode. I don't have a I don't have a feel of jumping in and shorting this out of the gate outside of the NQ setup. And internals are strong, so we'll see how let's see how the first 30 minutes go. Market will come to us, right, guys? Is everyone clear what I'm looking? And also, obviously, the first touch of the white zones. By the way, same thing on Russell. First touch of the white zones, valid locations. We're going to need to push down to get to a white zone, right? Right now, I don't have that. Look to see if there's responsive buyers at that 6,500. Is everyone seeing okay? It says my presenter's connection's down, but I don't think it is. Ian, can you see okay? Mike, anybody? Is it coming across okay? It is. Okay, good. Okay, so that's my 2 cents. ES is gap and go. That's a strong open, right? So wait to see if they push it down. Again, the only aggressive trade I see is to fade this 1549. Again, in the first 30 minutes, that's always a hard call. And I'm waiting for my trade setup to come in at 65.34 to 65.33 on NQ. Again, that's a very aggressive trade given how strong the market has been. But I'm pretty comfortable with it. And that is it. Hold on one second here. Let me get the rest of my chart set up. Yes, there's a big disparity between ES and NQ. Again, nothing tells me to fade this. The ratio of buyers to sellers again continue picking up right where we left off on Friday, where we are at. Wow, I can't even get this 4.94 on the advancers versus decliners, right? So nothing about this screams short. ES is incredibly strong right out of the gate. We'll see if they can pick NQ up. Again, everyone knows where I'm looking on NQ. And I will be back in just a second. Yes, having a hard time. I mean, NQ having a hard time getting off the mat here. Russell open drive higher off that gap. It's the first time a white zone's busted in a little while, even for the open. In the meantime, I have absolutely nothing except I can say all the volumes coming in at that high of this particular push on ES, which would be, as of now, $26.97 is where all the volume's coming in right now. So if that fails, look for a backside test for, again, a potential failure location when all the volume comes in at the top of a bar here. Let me see if I can just show you on a different chart. Go chart. Oops. Okay. Cancel. Chart settings. Okay. So if we look here and we go to a higher time frame, say 30 minutes, all right. So when all the volume comes in on top, I'll show what that looks like. And then we get underneath that volume build, that's where the point of control is. So I'll show you what that looks like. So what you'll see here is when we pushed up through here, on that bar, let's see here, here, here. Okay, so seeing these half-hour periods here, okay, so see how the volume wasn't coming in on top until right over here. See how the volume came in on top? And then when you backside tested that volume, which is approximately right here, that gave you the best short entry. So all this volume's coming in on top. So what I would hope would be that there was be a backside test later in the afternoon, back up. And so I'm talking about here relative to here, all the volume came in on top. So what I'd want to see is a pushback down and another attempt against that point of control. And you can see it simply didn't break the high. It set up a very beautiful entry exit stop. And notice these are half-hour bars. So that whole rotation down actually took almost an hour where it consolidated on top against that point of control. So it's not necessarily a quick trade, but that's where I'd be looking for a push down, push back up against that point of control, and a roll back to the downside, right? And you'll see that consistently on tops. And sometimes you had another one here, it can take a long time to work it out. So let's see where they came in here. So see how the point of control came in at the very top of that half-hour period? We retested it, and then it finally rolled out of it. That's what I'm looking for whenever this finally gets finished printing, which can be at its leisure, right? So again, I've never gotten up to 65.34 to remotely test the short side trade. I'll be looking for it once it gets over there. And other than that, that's all I have to say. I'm very much hoping by the time this bar closes in 10 minutes that they leave that volume point of control, that we do not do more volume, that they park it all up there. Because what will that mean? That we've left traders stranded on top, and that they will be looking to get out on the backside test of that location. So let's see if they do it. And until then, we will just sit patiently. There's nothing for me to do so far. So the first zone busted on Russell. The second zone has already provided you from 54, has already given you your first scale, right? So you should either be moving your stop to swing high, right? Or break even, whatever your plan calls for on that particular trade. Remember, it's important if you're trading the white zones on Russell that you take your trades in sequence. There's no way to tell which ones will hold and which ones will not, right? It's just chugging through one piece at a time, trade after trade, and making the odds work in your favor, right? Staying very calm and cool through the process, right? So in the meantime, I've got nothing to do. I see we got as high as 32, but we never made it to the 33, 34 and a quarter. And it's really important. I went over this in my journal both last night and on Saturday, right? One of the traps is when the market starts running really hard in one direction is that I don't know about you, I feel compelled to find a trade. Like, I got to find a way to catch this. I got to find a way to catch this, right? But the reality is our trade setups are so high odds that all we got to do is sit patiently and wait for the trade to come to us is really what we have to do, right? I'll say that again. All we have to do is wait for the trade to come to us, right? And work that process as that trade comes to us on a repeated basis, step by step, right? And let the process work instead of being sucked into what the market is doing. Now that I've calmed down here a little bit, caught up, it seems like I've been running behind every morning here lately. I don't want to press the market. I don't want the market to feel like it's forced to do anything for me, right? And I want to come in with the attitude that the market owes me nothing. All I want to do is get in alignment with where the market wants to go. That's it, right? Everything else is tourism in this market. If it goes straight up and it doesn't give me an entry, I need to be agnostic about that to as unfeeling about that as humanly possible. Why is that? Because if I develop an emotion about the fact that the market's running up so high, I then develop a feeling like I should have done something more than what my process calls for, right? It's kind of like if you run Cisco and you get upset because you didn't create Google, or you get upset because you didn't create the iPhone, right? You can only do what your process is set up to do, or you have to create a new process, one of the two, right? A new business, a new way of execution, a new strategy, right? Our strategy calls for catching the trades where buyers have been left hanging or sellers have been left hanging, and catch them where they're forced to come back in on their trade. I believe this morning that'll be around 65.34 for NQ is where we should find a response in that area. If I'm wrong, right, that idea will cost me roughly $120 for being wrong on that trade, right? Hold on one second here. Okay. That idea or that concept will cost me $120. That's the opportunity cost, right? My reward, I'm looking for somewhere between 5 and 10 points with scales, right? Again, one step at a time. And then I'm acknowledging that I'm taking the risk of shorting a market that's at new all-time highs, just a few points off the high, and I might get smoked, right? So I've adjusted size, and now I have an easy decision to make. I can go, I don't feel like shorting ES is strong. Advancers, decliners are strong. The advanced decline ratio is sitting at 4.46. It's the highest I've seen it this year. Advancers are leading decliners, 509 decliners to 2,273 advancers, right? Notice that Bill was very good to point out this week, and he did some homework, that he has seen down days or gap up failures on very strong advanced decline numbers. So I appreciate the homework that you sent me over the weekend, Bill. So just because you have strong advanced decline, it's rare, but it can fail, right? The whole point behind that is it's a great buffer to your decision-making process as to whether you want to fight the short right out of the gate, right? And then also the other thing that tells you is you're pulling in a lot of people right out of the gate. When the advanced declines are that strong, everyone's bullish. It tells you there's almost literally no sellers, right? And so the question becomes, in order for a market to advance, right, you need someone to panic out and then be forced back in, unless there's just an uber supply of cash. And then that becomes the new game. How much cash is there sitting on the sideline waiting to be run into the market? And we don't know that answer. And then the last piece was from this morning is there simply a seller strike, right? In which case it would actually take very little buying pressure to push up if no supply is being offered, as even a little bit of money is coming in. That money has no choice but to push the auction to the upside, looking to the point, what's the market doing? It's searching for value. As we're pushing up, what we're trying to do is encourage what the market's literally saying here, right? Is that, hey, no one, if we look at ES, right? What the market is saying this morning is there was no supply all the way through here, right? We finally found supply at 2661, temporary, that we motivated some people to sell. Overnight, the market's pushed back up, and it's still saying, right? It's still saying, hey, there's no supply here, right? There's zero supply in this particular area, and we're not willing to put that risk. We're not willing to offer out. You have not enticed us with a high enough price to offer and to want to get out of the market, right? Just like any other product that you buy, it's always a question of supply, demand, and incentives, right? Just like when you go buy a car, if the guy goes, I'll give you $5,000 off if you buy it right now. He's just dropped the bid, right, and the ask, in hopes that you will step in and pick that liquidity up. If you refuse to buy that car, right, and he doesn't have anyone else to buy, he has one or two choices. He's either going to hold his inventory on a depreciating asset, right, or he's going to lower it again until he finds someone who says, yes, I will take this inventory off of your hands, right? That's why manufacturers offer incentives. It's because they need to motivate the buyer to step in and take it. Well, right now we have the opposite problem. We have to motivate the seller to come in and offer, right? And the buyer's the one who is the buyer's the one who is out of luck in this particular case, right? So he's going to keep pushing price until he finds someone to come and offer to him, right? Or her, whatever the case may be. We obviously haven't reached that stage where they are willing to offer yet. Now, the funny thing about that is once that a few people offer, the whole tide can switch and everyone offers simultaneously, and then you get these dramatic moves down. The other thing to note, NQ and ES, right? Even though we've gapped up, even though we are plus 13 on the day, the range for the morning is only 6 points. Is that right? Oh, let's call it 92, 98, 6 and change, right? Not dramatic. On NQ, the entire range is a little bit better. 13 to 31, just over 15 points, right? But nowhere close to the rotations and the slams that we've been getting on both sides, right? So remember, from 65.33 to 65.34, with the stop approximately 2 points above the high of the day, I'm going to give it just a little bit of extra room. So I'm risking about $140 a contract on that trade, and I may just get run over. They may just come in and send me to the lambs to be slaughtered, right? But it's not bearish open. It's not bullish open. It's kind of a blah open. We'll see what they do with the rest of the morning here. course, I can't get to the 33 to get filled. Ah, I see what happened. I didn't catch that. You know that? I had a second short set up later in the morning and I missed it. And I do not understand what is wrong with this Skype, but I will open my regular Skype. Anyone else having tons of issues with Skype lately? Because, wow, it's been pretty bad. Thank you, Bill. Russell on a tear. Slow grind, guys. So again, I'm following my process here as it pushes up towards 33 and 34. Never filled. Okay. Disappointing. Guys, there's no counter rotations, very slow. So there's not a rush to do anything here. Again, I'm small on this trade. There's just nothing. And that's assuming I can get a fill. Got my 33. But nothing else. Wow, if it rolls here and I just get 33, it'll practically be just an uber tiny trade. Well, there's not much to say about that, is there? Guys, this is just a grinder. So, oh, Mike, sorry. The only reason I'm not is because we're Mike, good question. The only reason I'm not is because we're up so much and such a strong open that I'm waiting for a pullback. Mike, I'm uncertain of the environment. Let me put it that way. So it's fine to continue, but usually what I'm looking for is the opposite direction when I'm trying to get that. There's nothing wrong with that as a momentum trade. You're referring to this right here, but I'd prefer that to come on a push down so I can trap sellers, right? Get above them and push back up. But it's valid as a momentum trade. There's no question about that. Your point is taken. I just don't trade that way. It's very hard for me to buy up. So you got to remember, I come from a market where I have a long history of getting bone crushed, chasing up, right? It disadvantages me in this environment. But I'm certainly have no objection to taking a long position in this environment. I have a hard time buying we're going to gap and keep going like the second, third day, fourth day in a row. It's just very difficult for me to buy into the idea that we're going to continue. Oh, for the 9 a.m. Eastern candle. Okay. On NQ, 9 a.m. Eastern. That's 8 o'clock, right? My time? I wasn't even looking pre-market. So you'd be referring to we got above the 8 o'clock Eastern last seller, 8. I'm going to pull up my chart so you can see, so we can see the same thing. Hold on one second. Yes. Okay. Okay, chart settings, 24-hour. Eight a.m. 5-minute bar. Nine a.m. would be 8 my time. Would it not be this bar right here? That bar right there that you were looking to backside test into? Mike, can you send me a photo? Maybe if you give me a screenshot, I can see it. 15-minute bar at 9:15 versus 8:15 Eastern. Okay. This one right here? So are you saying you'd like to get into the backside test? I would not. The reason why is I prefer to have where I get a series of down bars and I have an opportunity to trap some sellers. That trade hinges on the idea that you've had somebody trapped. So my question would be outside of pure momentum up, right? Who do we trap there? NQ, sorry. Chart setting, here we go. I think it's going to look the same, but here we go. Let's see if we can get this all together. Here we go. So this is my last seller I see at 8:15, right? You're saying we get above that guy and we've trapped? Okay, I see what you're arguing now. Sure, maybe. We'd have to physically close above that bar. And you can see they're actually using that as resistance, right? So we'd have to physically close above that bar, backside test into it, and then the problem is you're going to slam right into this guy right over here at 65, 34, 50. These are the guys and then you have 1, 2, 3, 4. You have almost an hour of what I would consider trap buyers in that area. And you're going to slam into those guys and have to get them to lift. It's not like they're overly trap bud either. So I just don't see anything here that makes me very excited, right? Clearly, when I look at the chart from the overnight, this is the swing that needs to be broken. If that doesn't get broken, nothing happens. And if this doesn't get broken, nothing happens. So we may just slam in between. I hate to be obtuse about the methodology, I just don't see one side or the other. If any side I see potentially trapped, it would be, if I saw anybody potentially trapped, I would say it would be buyers, but no one's motivated to sell is the problem, right? So I don't see it either way. When I do, I'll call it out. I'm still pretty comfortable with the 33 to 34 short, actually. Don't ask me why I'm willing to take that, because it doesn't look all that hot from this perspective. As a matter of fact, I'm pulling off the 33 to 34. I like it even less now that I've looked at it this way. So I'll just go ahead, call the 33 flat, right? I'm going to move the stop to break even on the 33 entry and restart that process. I don't like it either way. It's just chopping around. And I don't have an edge when the whole rotation is just, we've been up and down 4 points, right? It makes it really hard for me to make any money. So I'll move the stop to break even at 65.33. It's only a few contracts, and I'll start the whole process over again. Yeah, I'm frustrated. Not a very clear setup. So I didn't take the short here. We're pushing that 33, 34 right now. I didn't take anything. I got stopped on the 33 that I had. And we're attempting to push above that last seller. He's absolutely right. Just look at it, just not go. I mean, that's just freaking amazing. It goes, and I mean, to see NQ stopped intraday, like it's stopped. That's incredible. Mike, I apologize. I just got to see it. The whole bar. I need to close above the whole bar, not just the body. And I prefer to have a heavy buy to sell ratio on that bar. I don't think I have a heavy anything in this market. I mean, my main issue is, do I think I can get 30 points from taking location there? And I don't. Right now, watch the market close up another 100 points today, but I don't think we have, I don't bet on 2-day trend days up in a row, which means I miss them in general. Right? There's clearly no seller. They had their opportunity to sell, right? And there's clearly not a rush of buyers either. So I don't know how you make anything out of that until we scare one group out one way or the other. Now, when we scare the group out, I'm all good on that trade, right? That comes at near a 30 or 60 point rotation. I'm more than happy to take that trade. But I see chop grind up, and the ES is open auction sideways. So obviously the guys who are betting on trend days up are winning here, and I'm not, and I'm okay with that. It just doesn't fit me. I realize that I'm on a handicap there because most people are going to go, yeah, it's trend up. Mike, I can answer the question more precisely. The bars are sub 10 points in NQ, right? They're really sub 5 points, and I tend to not make very much money when that happens. That's the best way to answer that. That's what I've been trying to say. When these bars, right, if all these bars look like this, I'd be fine, but they're getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and I tend to not do very well in that environment. Bottom of the hour. Well, so far that 33, 34 would have worked just beautifully. That's okay. Yes, rolling down a little bit for backside test to Globex high. NQ never made it to Globex high, interestingly enough. Advanced decline ratio has fallen off a little bit, but still very strong to the advancer side. I want to be clear, there's nothing negative that I'm looking at going, oh my gosh, this thing's going to fall apart at all. Not yet, anyways. Anyone have a different point of view than what I'm missing? Anything here? Buyers could get trapped, Daniel, but I just need to see some kind of rotation that would indicate that that's happening. I'd agree. But hanging out at highs is generally not an indication that that's happening. So you're gonna need some kind of break or something to tell you that yes, they finally have given up on it. Well, that 34 ended up being a pretty good area. I got talked out of my. I didn't get talked out of my short. I talked myself out of my short. And it's not exactly like it's been a spectacular trade. Wow, we went straight into holiday mode. So I'm looking for 30 to 60 points down on NQ and to get above my last seller, some kind of push down, some kind of indication that I've trapped sellers to push them back up. If they just keep driving up, I'll just keep having to wait. VWAP is sitting down near 25 right now. We bounced off of it earlier, roughly 25.75. Well, the 34 was the right idea. I didn't take it, but it was the right idea. Again, that's about all I was looking for out of that particular trade. Even though, granted, I didn't take it, but that's about all I was looking for, right? If it turns into more, that's great. ES pushing against Globex high now. Yeah, I see that, Daniel. Yep, I agree. Now we're coming into a VWAP. You see we bounced right off of VWAP. It's very mechanical, very, those guys are trying to hold it at VWAP. I don't know if they'll be able to. This is the second time on that test of VWAP. They don't hold it here, likely 65.20 to 65.16. Same thing for ES. This is the first time to VWAP from the 24-hour. This is what I'm looking at there. We're trading right into VWAP on both markets. That's the purple line right there. Now everyone's looking at it going, who's going to buy it from me? Got to get back above 65.28 in order to make a push of any kind. But these are guys just trading VWAP is all they're doing, which is, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just mechanical. They let you know there's no real institutional participation one way or the other. That 28 should now be some resistance. And sure enough, it is. We'll see if that's temporary or not. Tick now pushing. See how they're stopping right at 28? Doesn't mean that ends it. Just means that there's some responsive sellers there just. That's kind of cool how you can read that, isn't it? Now they're backside testing the 28, trying to hold it, get back below it, and you probably find more sellers. So NQ VWAP's been tested twice, which is fine. There's no big deal about that. ES NQ VWAP's been tested once. They can slice through VWAP. They have a good shot at 65.20 to 65.15. I wish you had something to say too, Ron. There's just nothing to do here. You and me both. It's just chopping around. There's no particular edge. Unless you just simply believe it's going up, straight up, in which case you should be attacking that dip. I don't, so I'm not. I'd love to see those overnight buyers get waxed, but then you can see they're defending 28 pretty good. And clearly the tax bill ended up being very good for corporations. So wow, we're going to play the 28 dance. Okay, going to refill my coffee. This is not worth sitting here and duking out, even from a just observational standpoint. It's not worth it. I'll be back in a couple minutes, guys. By the way, guys, on YouTube, I'm going to kill it now. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. If you have any questions of me, you can email me at traden perform@gmail.com. If you like a pass into the room, I'll be happy to extend you one. And if you like the broadcast, if you found it helpful, please, please, please hit the like button. It would be very, very helpful. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and hope you all have a great holiday season. Talk to you later.